Okay, we are going to be reviewing reflexive verbs and hopefully learning some new stuff as well. So remember, with reflexive verbs, you have to have the reflexive pronoun. So the reflexive pronouns me, te, se, nos, and se. Remember here it's se regardless of whether it's singular or plural, masculine or feminine, doesn't matter at all. It's always going to be se for third person. So there's a couple different ways that we can use reflexive verbs, and the first way, the way that we're most familiar with, is when you use them with yourself, to say that you do something to yourself. For example, me baño. I bathe myself, or I take a bath. You use these verbs reflexively when it's something that you do to yourself or something that somebody else does to themselves. And remember that generally you always have to put your pronoun before your conjugated verb. So I would say me baño. But if I have two verbs in a row, for example, if I want to say I'm going to take a bath, I could say me voy a bañar, or I could say voy a bañarme. And in this case, I attach it to the end. Either one is totally fine. Okay, so I could also say I am taking a bath. If I wanted to use the progressive tense, I could say me estoy bañando. Or I could say estoy bañándome. And if I attach the pronoun to the ing, I have to do an accent on either the ondo or the endo, has to have an accent. So remember, normally you have your pronoun before the verb. You can put it after your verb if you have two verbs in a row. So voy a bañar, estoy bañando, you can attach it to the end. There's a list of verbs that can mean very different things if you use them reflexively or if you don't use them reflexively. So, for example, despedir, say, when it is reflexive, means to say goodbye. When it's not reflexive, it means to fire. As in, like, my boss fired me. Mi jefe me despidió, which you wouldn't really hopefully want to say. So you definitely want to know the difference between that. For hacerse, when it's used reflexive, it means to become, like to become rich or to become a lawyer. Obviously, when it's not reflexive, it means to make or to do. Irse, when it's reflexive, it means to leave. When it's not reflexive, it means to go, like to go to the movies, versus to leave your house would be irse. Llevarse, when it's used reflexively, it's when you use it reciprocally with more than one person, it means to get along, like to get along well or to get along badly, versus llevar by itself can mean to carry or to wear or to bring. Quedarse, when it's reflexive, means to stay in a place for a while, like me quedo en Gainesville por 5 años, I'm staying in Gainesville for 5 years. When it is not reflexive, it means to be found, kind of, or to be located. Like if you wanted to say Oak Hall is located in Gainesville, right? Oak Hall queda in Gainesville. Ponerse, when it's reflexive, to put on, or it can also mean to become if you're talking about an emotion, like to become sad. Se pone triste. And poner, obviously by itself, to put. Volverse also means to become, kind of like hacerse, but something more violent, like to become blind or deaf or crazy. And then volver, obviously when it's not reflexive, to return. So these are some pretty big differences between reflexive and not reflexive forms of this verb, or of these verbs, so make sure that you study up on those. Okay, and then you can make a lot of verbs reflexive. You can just add a se at the end and it means to get. So most of these verbs are emotional verbs or thinking verbs and things like that. Cansar, to be tired. If you want to say to get tired, you would just use cansarse. Contentar, to be happy. If you wanted to say to get happy, you would say contentarse. Aburrir, to bore or to be bored. Aburrirse, to get bored. Enfermar, to be sick. Add a se, enfermarse, to get sick. Preocupar, to be worried. Preocuparse, to get worried. So you can pretty much make any verb reflexive that's an emotion verb or something similar. If you want to say to get sad or whatever, just add a se to the end. And that should be it. Thank you.